Now, before we go through this, I want you guys to know a few things. There are only 6 teams that have not lost a game. There are 6 teams that have not won a game. 5 of those teams are in the AFC, only 1 in the NFC. And that puts 20 of the 32 NFL teams at 1-1 through 2 weeks, which I actually believe is an NFL record. I don't think we've had that many teams at 500 through the first 2 weeks ever. Now, I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me, but I believe it's an NFL record. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we did our top 10 power rankings. Now, I'm pretty sure we're both going to end up agreeing on number 1, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're very different in the rest of the way. At least maybe have the same teams, just different orders. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. So with that said, we might as well start at number 10. For me, at my number 10 spot, I actually have the Arizona Cardinals. 2-0. They have a huge win against their division opponent. And then that division opponent beat my Cowboys, so I consider that a pretty big win. And then they also beat the Patriots this past Sunday. I can't put them any higher than 10, though, just for the simple fact they have no quarterback, and odds have it at the end of the year they're still not going to be one of the best teams in the league. But I got them a little bit higher, and I'll give you my reasons why when we get there. Okay. My number 10, I got the Chargers. Your number 10, you got the Chargers. I mean, just for the simple fact that they're one of only 6 teams, 2-0. Probably not going to stay there long. That's why I only have them at 10. But that's where I got them right now. Ironically enough, I actually have the Chargers at 9. Mainly for the fact they're 2-0. I looked at who they played. It wasn't anything impressive. But you win a division game on the road at Oakland. I don't really care how good or bad Oakland is. That's still a big win. And then you go on the road and beat Tennessee as well. They've outscored their opponents 60-24 so far in the first 2 games. So that means they're giving up 12 points a game while scoring 30. Now, like I said, their competition is not that great so far, but at the same time, division game on the road, a conference opponent in Tennessee this past week, you got to give them credit. So I felt like we slide them into number 9. Like I said, outscored their opponents 60-24. So that would be my number 9 in this week of the power rankings. At number 9, you have, my friend? Number 9, I have the Broncos. I think after last night's loss, Peyton Manning throwing some interceptions, threw up some question marks. I had him last week. I think it was 5 or 6. Or 6, I think I had him at. And they had to drop a few spots for me after last night's performance. I actually dropped the Broncos as well, but I dropped them to number 8, ironically enough. It seems like I've got teams maybe a little higher than you other than Arizona right now. But I got the Denver Broncos at number 8. I just feel that you're not going to get that type of performance from Peyton Manning every night. And by knowing that, to me, I felt like they're still a top 10 team. At the same time, though, like I completely agree with you. You know, the interceptions, the turnovers, and the, lack of consistent ability to beat or stop that Atlanta offense. I just felt like you had to slide them back a couple spots as well. So I have the Denver Broncos at number 8. Still a good team, just got them at number 8. I got the Cardinals at number 8. Okay. Here's why. Dating back to last season, their last 8 games, 7-1. No team better in the NFL. Their last 11 games, 9-2. Nobody better. You know you're the same guy that busted my chops for saying they were a tough team just last week, right? I'm saying that's the reason I have them at number 8. Okay, now they are technically the hottest team in the NFL. Quarterback issues or not, they are. Even running back issues. Beanie Wells isn't looking good. The other kid, Ryan Williams, hasn't done anything special. That offense is definitely stagnant, but that defense is just tenacious. So, for that reason, I put them at 8. But again, another team I don't expect to be there very long. I expect them to drop out. Yeah, Arizona. Believe it or not, McLovin G-Men throws in our chat room that the Arizona Cardinals and the Philadelphia Eagles play each other. At this point in the season, believe it or not, this is actually a standings type of game where, one team stays 3-0 and the other team gets a loss finally in the loss column. And speaking of that game, I actually have the Philadelphia Eagles ranked at number 7. Main reason for not being able to put them any higher, even though they have a huge win over Baltimore just this past Sunday, is for the fact that in 2 games they have 9 turnovers. And I have a really, really hard time ranking a team in my top 5 that has 9 turnovers through 2 games. The fact that the Baltimore Ravens is a team that wasn't able to capitalize on that really surprises me. But at the same time, that Philadelphia defense is very talented. They are very good on that defensive line. And I feel like I could put them higher, but 9 turnovers just stopped me from putting them any higher.
Number 7 for all the same reasons you just mentioned.
All right, so then we're in pretty much the same spot. Number 6, this one was not that easy to do, but I had to get them in the list, and I like the 5 teams that I put before them better than them. So I have the New England Patriots at number 6.
We agree.
Oh, this is scary. This could be an interesting unfolding of the top 5. Well, since I gave reasoning for Philly, why don't you give reasoning for New England at number 6?
Reasoning, New England, I had them at number 3 last week. Had to drop due to the embarrassing, upsetting loss to open the season at home. You can't do that if you're New England. The offense didn't look good. Tom Brady, didn't throw a touchdown until the 4th quarter. Only threw 1 on the game, 1 interception, 200 and something yards. The only bright spot, really offensive-wise for them, has been that kid Stephen Ridley the first 2 games. He's been the brightest spot.
And then you lose Aaron Hernandez.
You lose Aaron Hernandez. You lose a couple guys. I think Belichick will have this team back up and running at full speed soon enough, but I couldn't see them putting them any higher than the 5 I have ahead of them.
That's pretty much my reasoning. All right, at number 5. Now this is where things to me got really hard to figure out. Outside of number 1, my next 4 teams, I really feel like you can almost do whatever you want with them and not be wrong. But at number 5, I put the Green Bay Packers.
Same.
Oh, this is scary. All right. Green Bay, I put at number 5 for the fact you have.
I also have them at 5. And again, we didn't collaborate on this list whatsoever at all. We didn't even talk about it on the drive down.
No, we actually talked about our top 10 excuses. We did not talk about our power rankings at all. My notes were in the back seat, so he couldn't see those. So, ladies and gentlemen, ironically enough, me and Eric are agreeing, which I don't think me and him like that much. We like to disagree. But anyway. So Green Bay at 5, you have the big win against Chicago where they really won in dominant fashion. The reason why I only have them at 5, though, is because of the inconsistency you've seen in 2 weeks of their defense. And the fact that their offense really has not done what most people expected their offense to do this year. They have not moved the ball the same way, and I really think that Green Bay still has a lot of room for improvement. But if you get that type of performance from that defense and Clay Matthews every single night, you're jumping up to my number 2, number 1 automatically. Don't let me forget, though, when we're done with this, to give a quick rundown of Mike's top 10. He sent me his top 10 power rankings as well. But either which way. All right, so we agree on number 5. So number 4 is?
Falcons.
Oh, we have a disagreement. All right, I got Atlanta higher.
I put the Falcons at number 4. I couldn't see him putting them any higher. The Falcons 4 looked good last night for the most part.
The Falcons did look good. I just had them higher.
They didn't do anything to warrant me. The 3 I have above them, I just don't think that they would
beat them.
Any of the 3 above them.
Fair enough, and I respect that.
That's why.
At number 4, I actually went with the Ravens. I dropped them back 3 full spots. And I did that for the fact that really I did it based on what I watched on Sunday against Philadelphia. I do not understand how you force 4 turnovers against the Philadelphia Eagles and you do not beat that team by at least a touchdown. I have a real issue with that. I have an issue with the fact that they don't give Ray Rice the ball enough. I have an issue with the fact that with a lead, they still had Flacco throw the ball over 25 times in the second half. I have an issue with the fact that Flacco couldn't get the ball where he needed to get it in the second half. The offensive line had a hard time with the pass rushers on Philadelphia. They did enough that made me sit there and say, okay, well, Was it just a bad game for you guys, or is this who you like? You're really not as good as you looked against Cincinnati, and that's the fact that I had to question that is why I bumped them back so far. I did not like how they lost that game. I felt that, if there's any part of that team that you want to rely on to win the game, it was the defense, and the defense gives up a 70-yard touchdown drive for Philadelphia to win the game by 1.
Just think it was an off game.
And if it is, trust me,
I didn't expect them to go undefeated this year. I expected them to be a 12-4 team, and they're going to have some bumps in the road. Philly has a lot of talent. It's not like they lost to, the Rams or something, or, Indianapolis. They lost to a pretty good 2-0 Eagles team, even though they have 9 turnovers. They done enough to win each game.
Well, like I said, I mean, to me, I don't see Baltimore ever exiting my top 5. Based on who they are and what kind of talent they have, I think Baltimore will end up in my top 5 all year long. I'm guessing, but I feel like that's a safe assumption. So, who do you got at number 3?
I had the Ravens at 3.
Okay.
So we weren't far off. I had the Ravens at 3.
Okay, you have the Ravens at 3. I actually have the Houston Texans at number 3. The only reason why I did not put the Houston Texans higher than number 3 is based on who they have played in their first 2 games. They have played the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, but they're going to walk through the AFC. They're going to be another team that's going to be a 12-4 team. They're going to walk through the division. Jacksonville isn't going to beat them. Indy isn't going to beat them. Tennessee isn't going to beat them. It's just, I didn't have them at 3. I know you have them at 3. So obviously we disagree on probably the number 2, I'm guessing. So number 1 should be unanimous.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I put, like I said, you look at Jacksonville, nobody expects them to win more than, 4 games this year? You look at Miami. Now, I know Miami owned Oakland, but Oakland's Oakland. And Oakland hasn't won in Miami in actually 12 years or something like that. It's a West Coast trip. They always make a big deal. West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast. Yeah. Whatever the excuse might be, I'll give Miami credit on that. They owned Oakland. But Houston, to me, you still haven't seen them play a legit contender. It doesn't even have to be a Super Bowl contender. Just a team that people expect to make the playoffs. Now, if they beat Baltimore or they beat a Pittsburgh, hell, even if they beat Cincinnati over one of those 2 teams, I'd probably be willing to move them up a little bit more. But I just, why I just named all AFC North teams, I really have no idea. That just happened to be what was in my head. But I just don't like what they've
because just about everybody else in the AFC stinks.
Yeah, they haven't looked good. That's for sure.
You got a couple teams there in the NFC North. You got 1 team in New England in the AFC East. You got the Texans in the AFC South, and
the AFC West is just a jumbled mess.
Yeah, you got the Broncos.
Yeah, so
well, you call it a jumbled mess. I call it the Broncos.
And you know what?
Because you're still in your heart of hearts believing in your Kansas
I will not
City
give
pick.
up on Kansas City yet, but they are making it very, very hard to stick with what I said about them. Either which way, that's a whole nother conversation. So I got Houston at number 3. You already said this team. I got Atlanta at number 2. But that's also, some of that's due to the fact of the respect that I have for Kansas City, especially playing in Kansas City. And then, obviously winning at home on Monday night in the spotlight against the Denver Broncos.
Beating a lowly Kansas City team.
And anyway, so I like Atlanta.
And an off Peyton Manning. And all of a sudden they're number 2.
I like Atlanta. I think Atlanta has played great all-around football. And if you want to know my main reason for putting Atlanta at number 2, they have scored on 70% of their offensive possession so far in the NFL. By far, almost double any other NFL team this year. I know it's only 2 games, but that's really impressive to me.
Matty Ice got to do it in the playoffs, so.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But we're so far from the playoffs, we can't worry about that right now.
And then unanimous, number 1.
Well, who's your 2?
Well, my 2 is the Texans.
Oh, the Texans, okay.
What did you think? I left them out of the top 10?
I didn't even connect the dots Texans, on that one, sorry.
Being that the Ravens had lost, being that New England lost, I feel it's only right to bump them up the 2 spots to put them at number 2. I don't think they should have been penalized for playing lesser teams because they handled them easily. They lumped up Jacksonville. They lumped up Miami.
They did trail 3-0 after the first quarter against Miami.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's scary.
3-0. First quarter. It's the fact that the Texans haven't done anything wrong for me not to move them up. Now, I understand what you're saying with the Falcons, but I just couldn't see bumping the Falcons up that far from where I had them last week.
Yeah, I don't even remember where I had Atlanta last week. I don't even know. But I know what you're saying, and that's something that, when it comes down to it, is hard to disagree with, on the simple fact of the matter. If you really think about it, Houston, it's football. You got to go out and win the games that you're scheduled for. It's not up to you, based on that. Now, Pixel is saying Atlanta will be a 500 team this season.
He's just messing with
that. That one I disagree with.
He's not serious when he says
they are a great regular season team, but Pixel, you're priceless. They'll win all their home games.
And then Pixel had said earlier that we should have put the Giants in the top 10 out of respect. Again, I'm not picking this out of respect for the Giants and being a fan. I'm picking this as
trying to be honest about it. That's why I couldn't keep Dallas in the top 10 after what they did this week. No freaking way. Nope. And the Giants, offensively, if you were saying strictly based on what I saw offensively, especially in that fourth quarter, sure, I'll put them in the top 10 based on just that. But you gave up 34 points to a Tampa Bay team that, in my opinion, really has no right to score 34 points. I think Tampa Bay is a good offense,
but
they're not 34.
touch on something that I want to touch on today, and that's the Coughlin-Shianu battle that happened at the end of that game.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up real quick. I think we're unanimous on who our number one is.
On the 49ers.
San Francisco.
Nobody's going to argue that, and anybody who does is an idiot. I'll tell them they're an idiot to their face. You're not going to argue with the fact that the 49ers are the best team in the league right now. It's just a fact.
You can't. And if you do, I'd love to hear it. Anybody out there that wants to argue that San Francisco is not the best team in the NFL right now, give us a call, 201-430-2119.
And Pixel, I would love to hear the argument. You're right. After 2 games, the Giants aren't in my top 10. After week 6, maybe they break the top 10. They need to do more than have a shoddy defense against Tampa Bay and just count on their offense to win the game, especially in a game where Eli threw 3 picks. I mean, I know he threw for 510 yards and 3 touchdowns as well, but the guy threw the picks. The Giants didn't play an all-around great game. And the way they played in week 1, they lost. The way they played on Sunday, they easily could have lost that game to Tampa. They could have lost.
Yes, they could have.
In the first
half. Technically, they should have lost.
In the first half, it looked ugly. It wasn't a good game for Giants fans to watch. So am I putting them in my top 10 after those first 2 games? No. Maybe after week 6, if they happen to be 5-1 or 4-2, maybe they crack the top 10. But after a 1-1 start and not looking great, they don't deserve to be there.